asked me at the time, he was like, can I blog something for you? Can I blog something for you? And I knew he did a lot of speech writing and toasting and different things like that. And so he wrote a terrific article for me on the art of the toast, which is on bridesandweddings.com's blog. But just to give you a little bit of background about Geoff, in 2011 he started his company, Winning Wit. And the purpose of his company is to help others harness the power of humor in their own lives. Together with other comedians throughout the world, Winning Wit helps to write and deliver hilarious content that has audiences raving. Now, Geoff is no slouch when it comes to making people laugh, because he is the winner of Stand Up New York's Funniest Person from Queens. So we got ourselves a professional comic today. But the nice thing about today's presentation is Geoff is going to teach us some tricks of the comedy trade that we can incorporate into our own repertoire, our own spiel, as it were, when we're out there networking and making presentations to potential clients. So without further ado, come on up, Geoff. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Cindy. I want to thank everybody for coming out today. Thank you for the invitation. And how's the lunch so far?
Good.
Not bad, right? Excellent. If my wife finds out I'm eating this, she's going to kill me. So this is going to be our little secret today. So how many of you have seen the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding? I would hope everybody in the room. It was actually on last night, which got me really excited about the presentation today. And I was watching the movie, I was thinking, you know, the root of the word wedding planner is a Greek word. Come from the Greek word weddinopoli, which means to deal with crazy mother of bride. So it really is a pleasure to be here. I love being around a group of people who share my passion for this industry, particularly a room full of women. And two gentlemen, I'm not going to leave you out. A couple of guys in here, thank you. And the reason I really enjoy presenting in front of a group full of women is because I was at an event last week, and it was about 50% men, 50% women. The women were excited, they were engaged, they were enthusiastic, they were having the time of their lives. And the men were miserable, burdened, depressed, but they didn't even want to be there. What am I saying? That wasn't an event. That was last Saturday afternoon at Bed Bath & Beyond. So a couple of years ago, I first got into this business, as Cindy mentioned. I was driving in the middle of nowhere in Canada, and I was looking for that great idea. What to do next? And then all of a sudden, it hit me. A moose. Careful driving in Canada. So after I got out of the car and exchanged insurance information with the moose, an actual idea did come to me. What if I could take my experience in stand-up comedy and help people in the wedding space apply it to their own lives? What if I can help father of the brides, and best men, and maid of honors, and drunken uncles who nobody invited, you name it. What if I can help all of them write and deliver funny content that can truly make weddings memorable? And it's been a great run. Ever since then, all kinds of weddings I've seen. A lot of ethnic weddings. How many of you do ethnic weddings? A lot of ethnic weddings. How many of you ever done an Italian wedding? A couple in the back. I was actually asked this past week, what is an Italian wedding? I said, well, it's just like any other wedding, except it wears black and has an unhealthy relationship with its mother. And I've done a lot of Greek weddings, too, talking about the Greek weddings. And yeah, they feed you, don't they, at those Greek weddings? I was one 2 months ago, actually, in New York. The Viennese table had its own zip code. The Greek weddings are fantastic. I enjoy those, too. And I also do a lot of theme weddings. Now, I just want to take a quick straw poll out here. How many of you have been to some pretty out-there theme weddings? All right, I want to hear an example. Give me one example of one that you just couldn't believe they actually did or pulled it off.
Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead.
Wedding.
Let's talk about the Day of the Dead wedding for a second. Tell me a little bit about it.
Trees, dead trees, and the bride, everybody had tattoos head to toe. The bride had long black hair with red streaks, and her mother stopped her by, no, she wasn't allowed to wear the black biker boots. Just the mother said no to them. And on and on and on. It was very good. It was fun.
Sounds like the pinnacle of traditional elegance.
Yeah.
That's great. Any other interesting theme weddings?
We recently did an
That's incredible. Has anybody ever been to a Star Trek wedding?
Oh.
Star Wars one. Potato, potato. I was actually at a Star Trek wedding in Boston 2 months ago. This thing was incredible. Everybody was in full costume. People were actually dressed like Star Trek aliens. They had the ridges on their face, and they were painted blue and green and everything you can imagine. And I saw one of the groomsmen. I was really impressed by this. I walked up to him and I said, wow, that's amazing. What alien are you? So the groom walks up to me, grabs me and said, he's not dressed up. His parents were first cousins. That wedding was a disaster too, because, and this is something to really keep in mind when you're talking to folks about making toast, and Cindy and I have talked about this. Only put the mic in hands of people you trust. The best man, who was his friend from high school, grabs the mic, had a couple of drinks, got up there, and just looked at the crowd, looked at the groom, said, Captain Mark, I just want to wish you luck as you boldly go where the whole football team has gone before. True story. So illustrative of just be careful who grabs the mic and what happens where. But enough about my rambling, enough about my stories. We're here to talk about how you can take your stories, how you can take your interesting experiences with your own weddings and your own business and work that in to really building your brand and truly building your business and making you memorable with the people you talk to. So before we jump into anything, I want to ask a couple of more questions to get a pulse of how everybody here traditionally builds their business. So what would you say is the single most important thing as an entrepreneur, as a small business, or even somebody who works at a facility? What's the one most important thing that you do to grow your business? Customer service?
Relationships.
Relationships?
Marketing.
Marketing? Okay, anybody else? It's all good. But let's take it down a little bit more. So customer service, relationships, marketing, what do all these things have in common?
Personality.
Personality? Getting there, we're warming up. So personality, what else? Personal touch. Okay? One more and then we'll get back into it.
People skills.
People skills. We're sensing a theme here. So we have personality, people touch, people skills, marketing. This is all about getting yourself out there. Now you're going to go through a lot of programs this year with this organization, some others. You're going to read a lot of blogs, a lot of good business books out there, a lot of good webinars that are going to talk about how to get yourself out there, how to be all things to all people, how to expand your reach. This is all critically important. But the one thing a lot of people often overlook, and it's the difference between where you are now and where you ultimately want to be, is how to close the people who are right in front of you. How to close the people you interact with on a daily basis. How to really grow your business with the people sitting in this room. How to grow the business with the brides that you've talked to at a bridal show, at a wedding show, a bride you bump into online at Walmart. She mentioned she's getting married. That's your opportunity right there. Because I want to ask something else. How many of you in this room would consider yourself a performer? Somebody asked you, are you a performer? Oh, okay, so what do you do that you consider yourself a performer?
I work at a performing arts facility and performer dancing.
Okay, so we actually have a real performer here. This is not an abstract thing. Where were the other hands?
I mean, sometimes you just have to turn it on, right? Like, you don't always feel like you want to be nice that day, but the guys that walk in the door don't care that you might be having a bad day or something. So, in essence, you're performing. Like, you turn it on when they walk in the door. You have to be able to.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and I'm glad you said it because that's exactly it. Everybody in this room is a performer. Every single one of you. You may not realize it, but you're all performers. And a lot of people think it's just a dancer, or it's a comedian, or somebody who's naked in Times Square, but it's all of you. The reality is, every time you're talking to somebody who can buy something off of you, who you can build your business with. This could be a partner, this could be a wedding planner who can refer your floral shop. This could be a videographer who says, you know what, if you need somebody to make novelty, this and that, that's the person. Every time you're in front of that person, it doesn't have to be a bride, but anybody who's going to be the gate between where you are and where you want to be, you have one moment in time where you're a performer. All the world's your stage right there. You exist in this little bubble, and it's showtime. You're on because you have their undivided attention. It's a rare thing in this life to get somebody's undivided attention, but when you have it, you've got to capitalize on it. So we're talking about how to take actual stand-up comedy techniques that make comedians good, that make comedians compelling, that ultimately drive the bus for what they do, how to apply that in your own lives, in your own business, to grow who you are and what you do. Well, we keep eating this, we'll all grow who we are. It's delicious, by the way. Joking aside, it is absolutely delicious. So what is the first thing that a performer does before they get up there on stage? They have to set the stage in their own mind before any of this even starts. So let's think about the day before you go to a networking event, or the day before you're going to Wedding Wire, or the day before you're going to sit down with a bride who's a prospect, might be interested, feeling you out a little bit. What is your pregame ritual? Do you have one? Does anybody have a pregame ritual they do before they go to an event, or before they talk to a bride? A little bit of nodding.
Oh, just kind of like Gina said, psych myself up, put the happy face on, make sure that the room is clean, and I even put a lavender if I don't have fresh smelling flowers, so there's a lavender scent in the house. Just kind of set the tone and then get geared up, be happy.
Mm-hmm. Set the tone, get geared up, get your mind right. Got to have your mind right. I find so many people that I talk to, and honestly, I see a lot of comedians who do this too, and they don't do it effectively, and they get up there and they have a bad set, and they're just shocked as to why. Because the night before they were out partying until 3 o'clock in the morning, they're not right, they didn't eat a good meal, they didn't get a good night's sleep, they didn't do anything to take care of themselves. So work inside out before you do anything, because when you're presenting yourself in front of somebody, you've got to put your best foot forward. Now, you all know that. But how do you get to the point where that best foot gets put forward? Make it a day of you. And I learned this from one of the all-time greats, Rodney Dangerfield. Make it a day of you beforehand. So think about, what's your favorite meal? And not necessarily what you enjoy eating the most, but what's your favorite comfort food kind of meal? What's the favorite kind of meal you start eating and say, oh, God, I'm going to regret this, but you do it anyway? We've all got something like that, right? Any examples out there?
Pasta.
Pasta? Steak?
Enchiladas.
Enchiladas. That's good stuff.
Carbs in general.
So get that bowl of pasta ready. And the night before, you've got to go out there and show what you've got. Eat that bowl of pasta and enjoy it, because that will begin the process of getting your mind right. You want to spoil yourself a little bit before you get out there. You want to put yourself in a good place. Then start thinking about, okay, what do I enjoy watching? Is it a show? Is it a movie? Is it a clip of something on YouTube? What do I enjoy that just gets me laughing? That makes my heart light? That makes me just enjoy life, no matter what's going on the outside. I know this is my go-to. If I watch this, I'm going to feel like $1 million in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it is. Anybody have something like that they want to share?
Grease.
Grease. Fantastic. So when you're watching Grease, and what's your favorite food?
Pasta.
Pasta. All right. So we're in front of Grease. We've got a bowl of pasta. We're getting ourselves right for this thing. We're feeling good, aren't we?
Glass of wine, yeah.
And glass of wine, absolutely. That sounds like I might do that tonight, actually. Pasta and wine. All right. You do that already. No matter what's going on, no matter where the nerves might be kicking in, this is a big, big deal. This wedding, they're gonna drop $100 grand in this wedding. I can be a big part of this. I've got to close this. Get all that out of your mind. Focus on the pasta. Focus on Grease. Focus on the wine. You do that, immediately you're going to be in a better place, and you're going to have an opportunity now to take your game to that next level. So start thinking of other pregame rituals you can do. Start thinking of some self-affirmations you can give. And this is not going to be a Tony Robbins speech. We're not going to go through the classic, self-motivation stuff. You can read that all online. This is about putting yourself in a place where you walk into that room, be it a networking luncheon, in front of a bride, whatever it is, and you're just feeling good, just feeling great. And whatever you do to get a good night's sleep, make sure you do that too. Whatever you do that morning, put on an outfit that you're comfortable in, not one that you think you look the best in. Because a lot of times, if you think you look the best in something, it might not always be the most comfortable thing. I think I'm speaking to a room full of people who understand this. Wear what you're comfortable in, because ultimately when you're presenting, you have to be comfortable. How many times have you seen a comedian up there, and you say, my God, he just rolled out of bed? All the time. But very often they're very funny too. Really, really funny. Not always, but very often. If you're comfortable, you're going to be engaging. If you're comfortable, you're going to be natural. If you're comfortable, you're going to speak in what they call your authentic voice. And that's the next thing. So after we go through our pregame ritual, again, spoil yourself. Make this a day of you. You got to get up there, and the demystification has to happen. How many of you are afraid of public speaking? It's okay. You can raise your hand. Don't be shy. Just two? That's it? All right, I'm out of here. So what? No, and honestly, I'm not trying to pick on you. What is it about public speaking that makes it a little bit uneasy?
It's terrifying.
Why is it terrifying?
I don't know, I get like anxiety. I like have an anxiety attack standing up.
Just viscerally, right? Just
Yeah, I
something
start
feels.
shaking.
Start shaking. What? Now, why do you shake though? What goes through your mind when you start shaking?
Everyone's looking at me, it's scary.
Scary. They're looking at you. And what goes through your mind after that?
Thank God this is over. Can I sit back down?
Then I sit back down. It's the fear of rejection. It's the fear of humiliation. These are strong drivers, and everybody on some fundamental level has it. And it doesn't matter if you're getting up in front of a room full of people or if you're talking to somebody one-on-one trying to sell your business. That same fear of rejection, that same fear of humiliation, that same fear of, well, what if I'm not good enough? What if somebody else who does what I do gave a stronger pitch? What if somebody else has a prettier venue and they showed off pictures of it and I don't have as nice of a venue? What if I can't stack up to that? It's all of this idea that gets in your mind and creates that fear. And what the fear does, it takes you out of that comfort zone. It takes you out of the pasta and grease zone. You want to stay in that zone. The fear is going to take you out of that. So the first thing you have to do is start thinking about, okay, what's the worst that actually is really going to happen? What is the catastrophic ending to me not selling this as well as I want? Am I any worse off 5 minutes later than I was before the interaction began? And then really start going through your mind. How many times have you actually spoken to a bride or to somebody at a networking event that you were trying to partner with and it didn't go well? How many times have they actually said, you suck, your product is garbage, get out of my face? I mean, it's happened to me, but like the rest of us. Has that happened to anybody here? Have they gone on a blog and talked about how terrible you are, how nobody should use your business? Have they tore you down in public? Have they made a scene at an event like this? These are fears we create in our mind because our minds naturally take us to these worst case scenarios. But these don't actually happen. So start thinking about where any of that fear might be and demystify it immediately. Talk it out and laugh because it's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Now that we've got through the demystification part, stay in the pasta and grease and wine zone. It's still a good zone because when you get up there, that is going to unleash something inside of you. There's some kind of spark in all of us. And again, we're not going to get into a metaphysical thing here today. But there's something that got each and every one of you in this room to start your business. There's something that you love about what you do that got you to do it. There's something that says, this is what I want to do more than anything else in the world. And when you talk about it, you light up talking about it. You get excited talking about it. You engage people talking about it. And that's where the spark comes in. Anytime a performer gets up there on stage and starts talking to a room full of people, the first thing in their mind is, how can I communicate my spark to them? In your own voice. You don't have to be crazy. You don't have to go over the top. You don't have to be a used car salesman about it. But you have to be the authentic you. Whatever it is that gets you excited about your business, whatever it is that gets you excited about why you got into the wedding industry, that's something you have to communicate to people. So let's take some examples here. Who's a florist in the house? Okay, we got a few. I promised you I'd pick on you, and I'm a man of my word.
Oh, no. So what got me started being a florist? I just love flowers, and the right doors just kept opening time after time. So I guess I'm addicted to flowers.
Addicted to flowers. Isn't that a great line? I love that, addicted to flowers. Have you ever heard another florist say that? I'm addicted to flowers. There's a good clinic for that, by the way. Have you heard anybody say that, though? Addicted to I never heard that. That's great.
It is.
And all I know is that if I'm a bride and I'm interested in an incredibly exquisite floral arrangement, I want somebody who's passionate about flowers, not somebody who sees it as a job, somebody who sees it as a passion. And I want to hear that. I want to hear I'm addicted to flowers. Because that is somebody, to me, as a buyer, who's going to go above and beyond for what I want, for what my vision is for the wedding. You all hear that line once or twice? I want my vision. You want your buyers to align their vision with your passion. Find where these two meet in the middle. And then once you have that, you can go from there. It's like anything else. You get in front of a room of people, and if you can communicate what your passion is, they're going to latch onto that. Because don't people want to hear that? Let me ask you something. What excites you when you meet somebody at first, and they tell you about what they do, or even if not what they do, about their life story? Maybe they are from LA, lived in New York, lived in London, and are now back in DC. Whatever it may be, how many times do you hear that and think, okay, there's one part of that I'm kind of latching onto. There's one part of the story that's especially interesting to me. What is that part generally when you've heard that kind of thing? Can anybody give me an example of a time they've heard a story like that? And of course, I was talking about your life story. You know that. Actually, there are 3 people in the room that have also done that, the LA, New York, London, back in the day. So what it all comes down to is, how can you captivate somebody who is listening to a lot of different voices, a lot of different products, a lot of different services? How can you reel them in to what you're trying to do and what you're trying to say?
Make a connection.
Yep.
So you actually asking people?
Yeah, this is actually, it's kind of half rhetorical, half asking everybody there, because I really want to get some of your thoughts and some of your ideas about times when you've talked to people. You've talked to brides, for instance, and they maybe latched onto one thing you said, and you can pick it up when you're talking to somebody. You're talking, but you see there's a moment in their eyes. Maybe they're wandering around the room, but then you have them. Then all of a sudden, they focus in on you. All of a sudden, you've got their undivided attention. Start thinking back to some times when you've done that. And think about, what was it that caught their attention? What was that moment?
Sorry, just did a show.
No, please.
I just did a show this weekend in Baltimore, and couples they're just walking by, they don't want to meet your eyes, they just want to kind of look around. But I started saying, I guarantee you I'm the coolest thing in the show.
Isn't that great?
I told me I'm the coolest thing in the show. Listen to what I have to say. You agree, I'm the coolest thing in the show.
Coolest thing in the show.
Well, I think people generally get stuck on what makes someone different or makes them stand out. So usually people are kind of used to hearing the same thing over and over again. That's motivation.
Absolutely. But you don't often hear addicted to flowers, do you? That's a little bit different.
What works for me, I work at Marriott Ranch, and in my other life, when I'm not dressed like this, I'm a real life cowgirl, I'm a high girl. And I can, you talk about anything else, they don't want to hear it, they want to hear about that, so help.
Absolutely.
It's still with what Katie has said back there. I mean, I just think that when you are a little different and you're not so like stiff and stuffy and like you're a little bit funny or just a little bit out there, even if it, sometimes I feel like I'm a little too much for some of these people. But those are always the ones that look because they appreciate, they can tell that like that's real, and if you're really, if you're a passionate person, they can tell that through you being natural and who you are, then they trust you because they know you're real. So they don't think you're just reading another packet going through it. You're natural, you're so I think that.
And I think sometimes engaging in a conversation, that's going to bring up the client to you. Like when you said, like when they travel from different places, like you would have say, okay, well, so what you were doing in London, get the conversation going from, where you were, what you've done. When you're getting details to people's life, they feel like you're touching that moment, you're touching that life with them. And at that point, it's not about their wedding, it's about them, you, together, like talking about their mother-in-law, talking about their day of what dress you're gonna wear, other things. So I think engaging in the conversation makes more easier than, just being on your line, well, this is what I offer, this is what I do, I'm passionate about this. They already see that through the engaging in the conversation.
It's a great point. I'm so glad you mentioned it. That goes right to the heart of this whole thing, which is to create a space. How many of you have seen the movie West Side Story? Great movie. One of my all-time favorites. Remember that scene where Tony and Maria first locked eyes across the room at the dance? What do you all remember about that scene?
Everything stopped.
Everything stopped. And what did everything else started looking like? Blurry, right. The moment, it was a big, busy room. People were dancing, a lot of things were happening. But a moment happened with Marie and Tony right there. They locked eyes across the room. They held each other's gaze. Everything else went blurry. The whole world and the whole room stopped, and it was just the two of them. When you're in front of a client, when you're in front of a potential business partner, in front of a bride, you have to create that moment where that just happens. That moment between the two of you happens, everything else stops. They don't care about what's going on. They're not looking around the room to see if their friend showed up. They're not checking their phone to say, she's running late, she texted me. They're not caring about any of that. All they care about is that moment you're in. And by creating that camaraderie, by separating yourself through those interesting moments, by asking them about themselves, and then talking about the things they tell you, that's how you create that moment. The best shows I've ever seen are the ones where somebody on stage will have a bunch of tables there, and there's going to be usually a table right in the front, and they'll do some crowd work. They'll start talking to that one table, everyone else starts laughing, but that one table they just rope in and they engage. They ask them questions about themselves. All right, where are you from? Oh yeah, and they make jokes about where they're from. So how long have you two been dating? If the first date, God help them if it's their first date. They're really in trouble then. But they create that moment there, and everyone starts laughing because even people who are not part of that moment, they pick up on that chemistry. You see the moment in action, even from afar, and you gravitate toward that. So when you are going out and talking to people, start thinking, what can I do to create a moment with somebody?
In a business, person-to-person business networking situation like this, creating that first impression I did, sorry, she knows. My business is a DJ business, and I leave off DJ services off my name for a reason. Normally I just have it as AK Productions. So when people ask me what AK Productions does, I tell them all about my escort service. And it's that moment right away, they lock into me right away and they're like, really? Okay, no, I'm a DJ. So use humor. I mean, that's what you're here to talk about, right?
Absolutely, use humor. That's the name of the game. Humor is the way to do it, and you don't have to be naturally funny. I get this all the time. But I'm not naturally funny. I said, well, thank God for that, or I'd be out of a job. Use humor in a way where you can do some baiting and switching. Give you a classic example of how to formulate a joke just to get them laughing for the most basic thing in the world. You have them look in one way, and then you swing another way. So, I'm at a wedding 2 weeks ago, and you wouldn't believe this guy who walked in. He shows up, he's stumbling, he's drunk, you could smell the whiskey on him, he's disheveled, the tie's all messed up, the hair's all messed up, he's got lipstick all over him. I just took one look at him and said, I expect more from you, Reverend. Things like that. You have them go one way, you just switch to another. So think about weddings you've been to, think about things that you've seen, and you can build it, and just give a little hook at the end. It doesn't have to be the funniest joke you ever heard, but if you can think of one way to do that, one thing that you've experienced, that's a way to keep that going. So if nothing else, what I'd love everybody to take away today is just to remember that you're all performers. And it's important to approach every interaction you have with that mindset. Because by doing that, you are going to make an impression with the people who are already in your circle, the people who you already know, the people who you truly want to differentiate with, so they can be the greatest advocates for you. Because if you have that moment, if you have that Tony and Maria moment, they're going to be your greatest fans. They're going to tell the whole world about you. They're going to be excited about the interaction they had with you. So just remember, all the world is truly your stage alone. And just take it, run with it, and more than anything else, have that moment of you before you have that other moment of you. Get yourself right, get yourself in a good mindset, go in there confident, go in there happy, and you'll be amazed at what you're going to see with your business. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Geoff. That was terrific. And Geoff will be around, I'm sure, after the meeting if you want to have some one-on-one with him. But I think that this was some very valuable lessons for us today. I think sometimes we think about, oh, we're a photographer, we're an invitations person, we're a florist. No, we're all performers, and actually we're all salespeople at the end of the day. But thank you. Please have a seat, relax. Your notes, your notes on your door prizes. You have our door.